Hey everyone, John from Nintendo Life here, and I've been playing games pretty much my entire life, and in that time, I can't recall the last moment where I just waited for a game to release, because that's not really my style. I don't like looking forward, I much prefer to look back. That goes back to when I was like 7 or 8 or 9. I just like playing games that came before my time, because not only is there legacy there, but it's just in my opinion, many older games are just more fun than what we have now. But that's not the point. So throughout that time, I've been playing a lot of games, and I've kind of caught up to most of what Nintendo's put out throughout the years, even before my time. And once you've conquered the English realm, you have to kind of venture out. And so, this wasn't planned, I've not been collecting Japanese games, but just throughout the years I have accumulated a few, and many of them just never came out in the West. Now, I'm not a Japanese speaker, so I don't tend to buy visual novels or anything like that, anything text heavy, but I feel most of these are properly playable in English, and if they're not, then there are means to play them in English. But without further ado, let's start off with whatever else than the Super Nintendo mouse. Of course, you've got to start with the Super Nintendo mouse. So, Game Freak, in Japan, made a Mario game for the Super Nintendo. This was called Mario and Wario. And what basically happens is Wario drops a bucket onto Mario's head. So Mario's just blinded, and you've got to guide him using a fairy on the Super Nintendo mouse. And it's just this really cool puzzle game that's unlike anything else on the system. It's kind of bizarre this one wasn't localized, because it's not text heavy, so maybe they just saw the fairies and thought, oh, the West isn't going to want that. But this is a really, really good game, and if you're just kind of interested in Game Freak's earlier years, or want to play a Mario spin-off that we just didn't get in the West, this is a really good one, and it holds up really well. Again, this doesn't really require any Japanese text, it's all gameplay focused, and it's just a really, really good one. But let's move on to something else, and this one actually was released in the West, but only on Virtual Console. So this is, in my opinion, one of the best rail shooters ever. I think Star Fox 64 gets a great reputation for Nintendo's rail shooters, and it deserves it, it's a great game. But this one's better. This is Sin and Punishment. I don't have the box, I do have the manual for it though, and this is just such a riveting game. So Star Fox, I feel, has moments where the quality kind of dips a bit. This is moment-to-moment flawless action. And it's just so relentless too. And there's parts in the game where it just stops and lets you take in these amazing set pieces. And it's way ahead of its time for the N64. There's a sequel on Wii as well, that's fantastic. But this is just one of the N64's best games. And I wish we lived in a timeline where instead of Star Fox, Sin and Punishment was the household name. Not that Star Fox is much of a household name either. But yeah, not to take away from Star Fox, that's a brilliant game too, but Sin and Punishment is just next level amazing. Now, this one always causes a bit of confusion, because when I bring up The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Plus, people say, but John, we got 4 Swords Adventures on the GameCube, you idiot! Do you not think I know that? So, 4 Swords Plus has something the English version doesn't, and if you're a Zelda fan, I think this mode alone is going to warrant double dipping on the Japanese version. So of course this has the adventure mode, and the battle modes, and everything like that. But alongside it is a mode that's either localized as Navi Trackers or Tetra Trackers. I think Navi Trackers is the official one. But what this basically is it's a Wind Waker style, or at least Wind Waker universe game, where Tetra talks to you in actual dialogue. The objective is basically you and 4 friends on the Game Boy Advances are competing, and Tetra calls out the name of the next NPC, and you have to race to them and talk to them first, and that's kind of it. So it's a pretty simple game, but the presentation is crazy, and there's this brilliantly animated 3D intro cutscene in the style of Wind Waker, with Purple Link and Blue Link and what's the other one? There's Green Link, Red Link. That's all of them, that's all the links, and it's just really well done. So this is definitely a game for Zelda fans, and it's just a really cool multiplayer GameCube game. Oh, I love this series a lot. So here in Europe, a Game Boy Advance launch title was Kerurin. It's basically a maze-like puzzle game where you're constantly rotating in a ship, and if you touch the edges, you take a hit. So you've got to sort of squeeze your way through these mazes while you're rotating around. It sounds very simple, but it's a lot of fun. And in Japan, they got a sequel on Game Boy Advance, but they also got a sequel on the GameCube. This is Kerurin Squash. It's the same basic premise, but entirely in 3D. It's a bit more gimmicky than the Game Boy Advance game, but I think there's a lot of fun still to be had here, especially if you're a fan of the first and second game. And you may even recognise this guy. So he was an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. He didn't come back for Smash 4 or Smash 5, but he was in Smash Bros, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, this is just a great series. I'm sure Americans probably aren't even familiar with the Game Boy Advance Kerurin. So not only is this a Japanese exclusive, but there's a European exclusive to check out too. But yeah, brilliant franchise. Now, what you probably are familiar with, though, is these two games. Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Stadium 2. But what if I told you that these are a lie? This is Pokemon Stadium 2, this is Pokemon Stadium 3. So in Japan, this was the original Pokemon Stadium. And instead of having all 150 Gen 1 Pokemon, or 151, they had around 50, and there were no mini-games either. So I guess you can kind of see it as like a beta version of Pokemon Stadium 1. So just the battles, it doesn't have all the Pokemon either. So it's just a fascinating entry in the series where it took a while to really get its footing, and I guess I'm kind of glad that we got this instead of this. But either way, I think if you're a Pokemon fan, this is a really interesting one to collect, and a great way to sort of see the legacy of where the N64's Pokemon games came from. So by no means is this essential, just a cool collectible. What I do think is kind of essential though, is the mysterious Murasami Castle. We did around a 15-minute video on this one, and what makes this so special is this is the sister game to The Legend of Zelda. It was made in the same time span, used the same engine, many of the same assets, and this was made for the Famicom disk system, which had these floppy disks that you sort of insert in. So if you've not seen a Famicom disk system disc before, here it is. Many of them came with 2 different games on each side, but both of these are the mysterious Murasami Castle. But yeah, this is just a really, really fun and highly paced game. So where Zelda's a bit slow at times, Murasami Castle is constant action. And if you haven't checked out our video, I do recommend that you do. There's a lot of time put into that one. But I really love this, and the music's great too. Takamaru, the main character, Takamaru appears as a assist trophy in Smash, and there's a music track too, a really good one. So absolutely check this out. It's on 3DS Virtual Console, it's not on NES Online, it's not on Famicom Online, it's not on Wii U, but it is on 3DS Virtual Console, for whatever reason. Next up is a game that we did get in the West, but not in this carnation. So this is a Game Boy Color game. And I want to say that this character is banned on the channel. I'm not sure Xeon and Alex would agree, but I agree. So, in the West, we got Donkey Kong Land 1, 2, and 3. The same is true in Japan, but when they got Donkey Kong Land 3, they got a revision as well, which was this. This is the Game Boy Color version of Donkey Kong Land 3. And even though it has He Who Should Not Be Named, this is in my opinion the best in the Land series. So the Land series is very impressive for the Game Boy. The visuals are amazing, but the gameplay never quite mirrored the Super Nintendo games. The physics were just a bit off most of the time, but they really found it with DK Land 3, and having it in full colour is outstanding. So while I'll likely, just run into enemies when playing as that one, it's a great Dixie Kong game in full colour. And Donkey Kong Land 3, you don't really need to know English, so this is fine to import. And if you were to play any any iteration of Land 3, it's got to be this one. And this next one, we also did a video on, Captain Rainbow. This is a very text-heavy game, and I don't recommend playing in Japanese if you can't speak Japanese, especially because there's a random quiz at one point, and if you can't speak the language, you're going to struggle. But there is a fan translation out there, and what I really like about this is the premise is it's an island of forgotten Nintendo characters, and you've got characters like Birdo and Little Mac and Takamaru, and also Lip from Power to Pon. So it's just a really cool little cozy island where you run around and solve the wishes of these really neglected characters. I say neglected, Little Mac had a game 1 year after this, but still it's a lot of fun, and it's something I wish more people could play, but understandably, it's Japanese exclusive. And these are also all text-heavy and Japanese exclusive. So Tingle had 3 games on the DS. In Europe, we got Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, which America did not get. And that's a great game. It's a cool little RPG, and I definitely recommend playing it if you're a Zelda fan. But we didn't get, in Europe, these 2. This one is the sequel, and instead of being quite traditional, this one's more of a point-and-click adventure. So Rosy Rupee Land is about sort of going around, controlling Tingle with the D-pad and just playing it like a Zelda game almost. But this one, you tap things, and you play like an old school adventure game. There's a lot of charm to that, but again, if you can't speak Japanese, this probably isn't the one for you, but there are fan translations out there. And when you get in, it's so weird and fun. I really do recommend playing the Tingle games, they're great. And we also got this in Japan, Club Nintendo exclusive, Tingle Balloon Fight. And what's cool about this is not only is it Tingle themed, but it's Balloon Fight on the DS, meaning it's dual screened, and playing across 2 different screens adds like a new dimension to this classic game. And you can also play with 4 players too. So the Tingle theming is definitely interesting, but I just kind of appreciate it as a DS balloon fight. And it's definitely one you should hunt down if you're a Zelda fan or a Balloon Fight fan, or just kind of want to play these weird DS games. And obviously, we can't do a video about Japanese exclusive Nintendo games without mentioning Tangled Upon. Now I hear you, that's not technically exclusive, we got it in the West as Tetris Attack, which was a Yoshi-themed version without fairies. No Tetris, there's no reason why that's in the name. But I'm not talking about that one specifically. I'm talking about the Nintendo Puzzle Collection on the GameCube. And in my opinion, this might be the GameCube's best game. I think I said that was Monkey Ball the other day, but today it's this one. So what makes this one so good is not only is it a collection of 3 of the best puzzle games Nintendo's made, being Tangled Upon, Dr. Mario, and Yoshi's Cookie, but they're new versions. So Dr. Mario, technically not, that's Dr. Mario 64, but Japan never got that on the N64, so that's kinda cool. But Tangled Upon was a cancelled version for the N64. So in Japan, they never got Pokemon Puzzle League. Instead they were meant to get Tangled Upon, but that was cancelled. And they put it on the GameCube. And it's basically a sequel to the first game with descendants of the main characters, a new story, and 4-player multiplayer. And then Yoshi's Cookie is just something entirely new. It's a brand new hand-drawn game. And the best part about this, is you can connect a GBA, and with the GBA you can send demo versions of these games onto the Game Boy Advance. So if you want to, connect a Game Boy Advance, go to Tangled Upon, and say send it to the GBA, and it will give you a specific, from the ground up made version of Tangled Upon for the Game Boy Advance. And you can disconnect and play that anywhere until your battery depletes. Same with Dr. Mario, same with Yoshi's Cookie. This is just such a good game. And I'd say it's the best puzzle game ever made. Brilliant stuff. No need for dialogue either, so if you've got a Japanese Nintendo GameCube, you've got to get this. It's essential. So I have other Japanese games, but those are kind of the biggest noteworthy exclusives I own. Now there's some I'm missing out on. There's Fatal Frame 4 on the Wii. I really want to play that, because there was rumours that game was pretty much done in localization, and they just didn't release it. So there's a full from the ground up Fatal Frame game on the Wii in Japan that we didn't get, and there's a fan translation too. Of course, Fire Emblem. There's like a decade and a half worth of exclusive games in Japan, and I guess the biggest one is probably Roy's game, Fire Emblem The Binding Blade. Now, if people tell you they've played Roy's game, they're probably lying to you, because that game was never localized. There's a fan translation, maybe they played that, but I imagine out of all the Smash characters, Roy is probably the one people have experienced the least. Maybe you've played other Fire Emblems, Roy has cameoed in a few of them, but this is his game, and it's just one that's kind of eluded us. We got Marth's game last year via a timed exclusive NES game on the eShop. We had a remake of that on DS before that, but Shadow Dragon released on the Switch last year. So if you want to play Marth's original adventure, you could have last year. You can still do it if you bought it, but if you missed out, you missed out. But yeah, Roy's game is one of the most elusive ones, and it's one that I'm hunting down at the moment, because he's the only Smash character who I don't own a game for. I own a game for every other character, including Rob. I bought Rob recently. But yeah, Roy is the one I'm missing, so maybe I'll have to do that before the last character is announced, just so I have all their games. But I guess that's it for today. I just kind of wanted to highlight a bunch of Japanese exclusives, and hopefully some of these caught your eye. I wouldn't say any of these are particularly niche, they're pretty big franchises, especially Kerurin. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below, and what Japanese exclusive games do you own or have played that weren't featured in this video. Thank you for watching, and go to that subscribe button and translate it from Japanese to English, and we'll see you next time. Bye everyone. Oh, and Mother 3. No one ever talks about that one.